I had a customer that really liked this angel. She wanted me to make her a Madonna using the arm from that angel. And so these are the pattern pieces I came up with, and this is going to be the robe. She wanted a pink robe, and those are the sleeves, just like the angel had. And here is the arm that she liked. So she wanted the Madonna to have those arms that were on the angel. So I have never made a Madonna with a baby like this, so I'm going to be experimenting with this totally. And so here will be the baby's body, and this is going to be the body of the Madonna. It'll go inside of the robe. And these are going to be the arms. That little piece is a pattern piece for the arms for the baby. And this is the face that she wanted. And I can tell right away that the Madonna face is a little too small. It's really the same size as the baby's face, even though I shortened the baby's face. So here I'm making 4 of them. So here are the pieces all sewn together. And this was the robe, which I showed originally in the beginning. And so I just need to cut everything out. And after I cut it out, I'm going to stuff them. I have to turn them inside out and then stuff them. So I just cut a hole in the back. Even though that hole doesn't show, I always end up sewing the hole closed anyway. So these little arm pieces are super tiny. They should be really fun to turn inside out. I'm determined to do it though. So here's the baby's body. And that will get inverted the same way that the Madonna body will get inverted. I cut a hole in the back and turned it inside out. And so originally I thought I'd make a wavy kind of a bottom, but I ended up just cutting it straight across. It was too hard to put the trim onto a wavy body. She also wanted the trim that was on the angel as well. So this is a beautiful hand-dyed velvet that I dyed myself, because the company I used to get it from no longer dyes it, and had a lot of fun dyeing it actually. And these are the sleeves. I always hand sew the velvet pattern pieces together first, because the velvet just shifts around so much under the sewing machine, under the foot. So in order to keep it in place, I have to do the hand sewing, and then sometimes I have to take it out, sometimes I don't. If it's on the inside of the sewing where it will show when I invert the piece, then I have to take it out. It only takes a minute to do it. So these are the sleeves. And I'm loving the way that this looks so far. I'm really happy with the way the pink came out. The pink velvet, I mean. So these are the arms. And that looks really good. And here's the little baby body. So I'm cutting the hole in the back and inverting that as well. I'm really curious to see how these are going to turn out since I've never made them. A lot of times I have customers ask me for special requests, and I'm always really, really happy when they do, because it makes me come up with new ideas. So I'm really grateful that this person asked me to make the Madonna. And I've actually made a Madonna before that was in a diorama. I did one that was praying the rosary with rosary beads, and then one with the baby. But I never made one like this that's like an ornament freestanding. So yeah, so the body's going to go in there. Yeah, this is coming together really nicely. I still have to paint the arms and the faces because they're white, as you can see. So see, her face is just too small. I'm going to make a bigger face for her. So the next part is the stuffing, and I'm going to not stuff the whole arm, just kind of the ends of the arms, that would be the hands. And that'll get glued onto the back of the baby body. So here's the body, and I'm going to stuff that. So I always use polyfill stuffing. That's the only stuffing I use. One time I bought some at a store that was not that brand, and it was really horrible. I couldn't believe how bad the quality was. So that's coming together really nicely. Those are the little arms and the body. And then next, so I'm going to stuff the feet, and then I'm going to do a little top stitching first with a sewing machine to separate the feet and the legs from the skirt here. So here it is with a top stitching, and then I can finish stuffing the rest of this body. And this will just give that gown a little bit of fullness. So here it is, it's all done. Then the next thing I need to do is to sew up those openings. So this is how this will fit in. It's really looking great. I'll probably have to trim that gown a little bit because it's a little bit long. So when I sew these together, I actually don't cut the thread. I just go to the next piece and just keep sewing like this. And then I cut them apart at the end. So since I'm making 4 of these, I'd probably sew all of them together first and then cut them all apart. I always do that. It saves time. And then I also want to sew up the backs of these heads. So once I paint everything, that's really the fun part. I have to paint the head and the arms. And I'm going to paint little shoes on her as well, in gold, of course. And I'm going to paint the body of the Madonna white because I'm going to do a couple different versions. So here are all my pieces. This is the body painted. And I bought these beautiful foil halos. I'm going to use those. I'm going to glue the arms on just like this from behind. I think that looks so cute. And I made the Madonna heads a little bit bigger. I don't know if you can tell. And I painted the arms. And this is the body. And then on some of them, I decided I would cut the gown open down the middle. I'm going to do 2 different versions of this. So this trim is going to get glued onto the bottom. And then the halos are going to get glued onto the heads. Or the heads will get glued onto the halos. I love it when I'm ready to put everything together. It's so much fun. And here's my arms. They all have to be facing the same way. Here are the different colors that I'm using. These 2 beautiful blues, the pink, and then this indigo blue as well. So the indigo is the one I'm going to cut open, and I had this really beautiful antique trim, and I'm going to put that onto the body of the one that I'm going to cut the front open. And then the trim is going to go also onto the sleeves, the edge of the sleeves. And I use a fabric tack to glue the trim on. So here's the baby all glued together. Isn't he so cute? And that back is going to get covered up by the arm. And here's the trim on the arm. So the positioning is always tricky. The positioning of the arms is always tricky for me. So these are all ready to go. And I think that looks really great. So I have to cut the front of that open. And I did want to add a little gold edge to the front along the edge of the cut. So here it is cut down the middle. And I had this, love the way this looks, the halo. I've always wanted to use those halos on something. They did cost kind of too much for this, but I just wanted this to look really great. So I'm gonna, I had this really thin wire that's covered with fabric that I painted gold and then glittered. And I'm going to sew that onto the edge of this opening. So I'm just going to sew it every inch or so. I'm going to tack it to the edge of the gown here, to the gown opening, I should say, every inch or so, or maybe every half inch or so. I'm just tacking it. Just sewing one stitch and then moving up like 3/4 of an inch and then sewing it again and attaching it, and here it is all the way around. I'm using fabric tack and I'm going to fold down that little edge so that it has a nice clean finish. And I was really, really happy with the way this came out, because it had a little bit of body also, because the gold wire is wires, so it gives it a little bit of body. So really happy with that. And I'm using fabric tack there, which is really great glue for fabric. I also use a glue gun. Doesn't that look awesome? With a lace in there. So it's really coming together beautifully. And here I glued together. I sewed the arms on first and then I glue them on because I really want to make sure they don't pop off. So that is so cute. Look at this. See, I made the heads bigger because they were just too small before. So here it is. It's all done. I just have to attach a string to the back and it's all finished. And I'm so happy with the way that came out. So the other version is a little bit simpler, and it's the pink version, and I had to trim the sleeves a little bit because the trim would cover the arms when I added the trim on. So I do show this in another video, but this is how I put the trim on. I put the fabric tack on the edge, and then I put the trim around the edge, and you just want to be careful not to get the glue on the velvet anywhere else. And here are the arms sewn in place and then glued in place, and here are the rest of the pieces, and here she is. She's all done. Isn't this adorable? Here they are. I was so happy with the two versions. And so these are all the ones that I made. Here's the indigo one with a open front. And then here's the pink one. that's a little bit simpler. I like both versions, but I think I like the open front version a little better. But I like both versions. I love this one. Gorgeous. Look at the velvet. I dyed that myself. And I did a great job, if I say so myself, which I just did. And here's the last one. Also beautiful blue velvet. So I was very happy with how they came out. Thank you for watching. See you next time.